First caller to this conference. Please wait while others join. The leader has not activated this conference. Please stand by until your call begins.
Welcome to the 2020 Washington State Data Conference. My name's Erica Gardner. For those that don't know me, I work at OFM, and I'm the lead for the Washington State Data Center. For those who have not muted their phones, I would request that you do so. I'm excited to have KaNin Reese with us today. She is the Chief Dissemination Outreach Branch, or Chief of the Dissemination Outreach Branch at the Census Bureau. She's an expert on Data.Census.Gov, and in the second presentation, she will introduce us to the MDAT tool that will
mute on. Mute off.
Before turning the mic over, I would request that all attendees keep their phones on mute. And if you have a question during the presentation, please enter it in chat. At the end, we will review any unanswered questions and open up for additional questions. And just as a reminder, we will take a 10-minute break roughly at 10 between presentations. So I know we have a lot to cover right now, so I am going to pass it over to KaNin.
All right, thank you, Erica. I appreciate that. I wanted to thank you for having me. This is exciting to be in a virtual conference. We were afraid that we wouldn't be able to meet with all the states and give you updates for Data.Census.Gov, but everybody has been so great at being able to pivot into being virtual, and really appreciate that. But definitely use your chat and any questions, and we can answer them. And if we don't answer in the presentation, I'll definitely circle back with you afterwards. So there we go. All right. So just a quick overview. Data.Census.Gov is the Census Bureau's new dissemination platform. And I say platform instead of tool because the idea is to put all of our content on this platform to be eventually available on Census.Gov, where you'd only seen PDFs and web pages before. We want to be able to integrate those tools that we used to use as far as single data points and tables, and just allow it for everything, all the content. So with API as our hub, which is the application programming interface, it allows for individual estimates, but when you pull those individual estimates on the right side of the screen, you see it still can give you the tables that you might be used to seeing, but then also other things like data visualizations as well as mapping capabilities. So that's kind of what we're doing, and the visual representation of this platform is at Data.Census.Gov. So giving you a quick overview about what that is. And then really want to give you some latest updates where we are with the development. So a lot of what we're doing is making sure that we're building something that is customer driven. So there's good and bad things about that. The good thing is that that in the end, we want the customers and people that are using the data to have the experience as well, the features that they're looking for, and also the data that they're looking for. One of the drawbacks is just that we'll be building while you're reviewing it, so that makes it a little more difficult. But it's really the best way that we have found to make sure that you get the platform that you're looking for. So we build in 2 months cycles and then released our code to show you some improvements and features. So I wanted to give you an update on where we are with that. First thing, as far as data-wise, we're slowly kind of migrating and making sure that all of the data that were in American Fact Finder will be available in Data.Census.Gov. The first thing we have to do is make sure it's in the API. AFF was static tables. They were delivered that way. You couldn't really manipulate them unless the data provider expressly sent them that way to American Fact Finder. With the API, we have so much more flexibility. So that's kind of the goal, is trying to get all of our data into the API. But it does take a little work. People aren't necessarily used to, throughout the Census Bureau, of doing that. They might be just doing table packages or PDF documents. So kind of onboarding and kind of everyone getting up to speed is one thing. And then just the massive data that we have. So as we're migrating the data over, we're also trying to get new data providers in. So first one being Population Estimates Program. Now, they were in ASS, but they prefer to just deliver directly instead of having the migration process. And so we do have the first table available. It was available in August, so very happy about that. And now in the process of kind of updating and making sure that those population estimates come up first. So we're still working on that. Unfortunately, it was supposed to be released tomorrow, so that's just a little bit too late for you, but hopefully when you check it and play around with it in the next couple of days, you'll see the changes, hopefully by the end of the week. But so it's just the first table. It's not the whole package of the product. But we are working with them on creating kind of a delivery tool that allows them to send their metadata. They're used to sending their data, but it's that display metadata that allows Data.Census.Gov to be pulled from the API and then shown in all of those different ways, like a table or a map. So that's what they're working on. So hopefully we'll have that coming in the near future. One of the big things that we're doing as far as the build-wise is because our focus is on the 2020 decennial data release. So with spring 2021 is when we'll be releasing the estimates. I know we're collecting it right now, and that's what we're talking about so much. But a few things that we're really working on to make sure that we have that the things that are needed for the decennial 2020 release are available. So the big one is download. We have a download capability, but it's not as robust as we need. When we're talking about decennial data, we're talking about block level data, and blocks in Rhode Island aren't nearly as
Mute on.
California or Texas, just because of the vast quantity and the breadth of them. So that's what we need to be able to deliver to the state. So their population counts by block. So that's what we're looking at when we talk about download. And of course, once we build something that's available for that fine of a geography and that size, of course, it's going to benefit all of the other things we have that need to be downloaded, but we're just still in that process right now. Also, there's collections of geographies in the one-click selections. We call those pseudo-geographies. So if you've heard that term before, it's completely made up by the Census Bureau. So it's not something that's in your dictionary or anything. But those are those easy collections. The biggest one by far that we do not have is ZICDAs, which are the zip code tabulation areas, specifically made for decennial or for ACS. So the ACS ones are the ones people are asking for right now because of timeliness, and be able to have those by state. So we're very close. We're hoping that we can release in the next month or two. We'll definitely let you know about that. But those are some of the things that really we're having to do a lot of workarounds with the API, and how, because you can't necessarily stick and click every single zip code. We desperately need those one-click selections. It's just very difficult because American Fact Finder, as much as it was loved, at the end, the people, the IBM contractors that ran ASF, they created a lot of these pseudo-geographies that weren't coming from our geography division. What we're trying to do at Data.Census.Gov is part of this bigger enterprise movement where we're trying to have things, the geography division, they do geography. They need to be the ones delivering us our geographies instead of us doing it ourselves in these little silos, which has kind of turned into dissemination throughout the Bureau. So you're seeing that throughout, from collection, having one centralized collection area. All of those things are things that we're working through as the Census Bureau, and then our individual areas trying to handle that as well. So hopefully have those. We've gotten more since last year. We started putting a lot more in, but still have some, and the ZICTAs are the big one right now. Also those profile pages, I'll show you, we have a geo profile, a geography profile page that's available. But what we'd like to do is make that more of a template base so that we can have other types of profiles, you know, a topic profile, which would be great to have all of these different estimates and indicators of maybe poverty or income. But then it would be really great for decennial. When 2020 comes out, it would be really great to have maybe a decennial data profile that's more of a visualization. So I'll show you what it looks like so you can kind of imagine it as far as in the geo profile. And some of those things, trying to make those more flexible so that we could go in and add some of those things. And then improved embargo. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of people going in and doing some early looks at those counts by the states, just making sure that embargo is ready for that, you know, the quantity of people that will be coming in. We have embargo ready when we have early looks, but just making sure those things are covered. We also have web page search, which is that's going to be released in 2010, that actually will be released, is that trying to make sure that we have those web pages are actually being covered by our search. So not just searching for individual estimates, but also searching for those PDF and web pages that are in Census.Gov. It's a critical element for us to eventually be able to integrate with Census.Gov and take over their search platform. So instead of going to Data.Census.Gov, you would just go to Census.Gov to find all of your data needs. So if you're looking for tables or if you're looking for methodology reports from different surveys. And then always we're trying to address the data user feedback, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. The aftermath we've definitely seen of AFF shutting down. We've definitely seen a huge increase in the site visits. You know, it makes sense when you turn off the main dissemination platform and this one takes over for it. You've definitely got some stragglers. It's been turned off, and I understand. You know, as we're moving over, we've definitely increased our numbers, not just our site visits, but those page views and then user feedback as well. Definitely encourage people to reach out to us at subside.feedback@census.gov. If people are hitting roadblocks or having problems and not being able to find it, we will definitely help you. And we're trying to get to people within a day for sure. All right, so top feedback. This is what I wanted to kind of hit at to make sure that you're aware of what we are looking for and looking at. So this is since the AFF shutdown, which is on March 30th. So April through August, all of the comments we've gotten, which is 4,800, and of the comments that we've received, about 63%, so definitely way over half, has been only about these top 10 things, which is great in that it really helps us to focus on what do we need to build, what do we need to focus on, what are people asking for the most. So first we have data availability, and that's covered not just what's moving over from ASF, but then also what will be available on our site and what will just be available through the API. So some of those things, we're winding down the work that we've done with migration over from AFF. We do have some issues where we're trying to have data providers review and approve, but we're hoping as we can get those, even though it's a busy 2020 time, once we get those, then we should hopefully be able to get those released. Navigation, it's definitely a different navigation spot and very unlike ASF. It's definitely more of a Google experience where it's just the search bar and then an advanced search, which allows you to go to those faceted filters. Issue with that is that with Google, I don't think a lot of people have really even know that Google has an advanced search and what's involved with that. And so, we probably have to think about is there a better way of doing that? Do we need to make that advanced search a little bit bigger? What kinds of things do we need to do? filtering, if you've gone into the advanced search and checked those out, sometimes the filters aren't exactly what you expected. If you can see, the number one is just trying to locate the ZICTAs for ACS. Is just a huge part of it. Just if there's any kind of bugginess or problems, any defects, those kinds of things. We mentioned download. Download's a big one, making sure that it doesn't fail, that if you're looking for, all block groups and Texas, that we can download those things if you don't have the blocks right now. All of those things, making sure they're available. But then also things like our download is just a flat file. It's just a CSV file, and people would like maybe a download that's in a PDF version or something that's more printable. Those kinds of things are important to be aware that people are asking for. Performance is something that we're always working on and trying to, especially since we're adding more data, and as they get more, we have more data and more metadata available. Performance is something that we're always working on. Those pseudo-geographies or those one-click collections that we talked about, this just kind of shows you that close to 50% are the ones that are asking for, 50% of people are asking for something with ZICTAs. And then the others by then as far as tracks or other geos, blocks or block groups. Printing, we have several different ways of printing. Some people would like to just have something that's in a PDF document. We have a kind of a one-off, which is a Control P. We'll show you. But some of those things that people are asking for, ability to print the map is one we hear and that we don't have a capability right now. Address search was something that we all of a sudden saw as soon as AFF went away, and that was because we didn't have that integrated address search where you could go in and put an address and then find out exactly what that track was or what that block group was, and that's something that we're working on having before Decennial is released. Search relevancy is just that, just making sure that the search comes back in the order that we, that makes kind of the most sense or what we want to offer to people. And that was the big thing that we're working on that I wanted to have it available to show you, was just because the population estimates, if you just ask for Seattle or, King County, it should come back the population estimates program. And right now it doesn't. So some of those things we're working on to make sure that it's hitting what we assume would be available. And then, of course, there's always people that would prefer something else to go over that and kind of trying to manage that. And then finally, it's mapping. People really do like our mapping capabilities, but if there's bugs or things that need to be fixed or worked on, that's a real bummer for people. So just making sure that we keep working on that is something people have been asking for. So, okay, sorry. I think I missed the last one. Okay, so from there, I wanted to go into a demo, give you some different kind of scenarios. We're always trying to test different ways of kind of showing the site out. Since a lot of people here do know the site, we wanted to go over some different comparisons over time or comparing across geographies, and then some business, and then wanted to finish up with showing you our resource page, because it's where we put all of our materials and how-tos. You're always welcome to just send us an email and ask your question, but if you'd like to kind of go in and see what we have available to kind of do some educational work, that would be great. So from here, let me switch over and switch to the live site. So the first thing we wanted to do was getting started. Basic one. I know that for many people, you probably, excuse me, hold on a second. Okay, there we go. All right, from here. Okay, so here's our site at Data.Census.Gov. And this is what I was talking about, the single search bar and then the advanced search that takes you to more of a faceted filtering experience. that works for some and doesn't for others, and so it's great that we're able to get people's feedback about what they want. Sometimes it's conflicting, so I'm not sure what to do with that, but well, at least we'll gather it. So just some basic things that you can do. I wanted to show you those geography profiles. So if you were to do like King County, Washington, and it's even like in Seattle, or if you wanted to, whichever you want to do. Oops, no, I'm just in big type. So you can go into Seattle, and from here you can look at just the Seattle city, Washington, kind of that place level data of our geography profile. So from here, just giving you some basic estimates that's available, and the most common estimates that are asked. So this is, again, this customer-driven thing. So that's something that you can print out and have available or export. There's lots of ways to share or export the little sections. We're working on having the whole thing be able to kind of be exported about a different area. So if you go to some place, or especially nice for people in chambers of commerce and different planning areas. So something we're trying to just basic estimates have available. Again, it's something that's kind of shows the power of the API, that you can pull these estimates directly, sourced through either a spreadsheet or however, that just pulls the individual estimates from there. So you can move that around. You can go to income and poverty and see different estimates that are available. And then from here also, you could move to the state or drill down to the county, however you wanted to. But this was what, when I was talking about what we're working on or what we're building this fall, is we're working on having something that's this as a template, but allowing different data points. So not just geography-based, not just Washington, but maybe it could be just a general release of the estimates that are found in a visual way for the decennial data. And then from there, you can also have it by geography, right? You can do a Washington or a Seattle or King County or however you wanted to do it, but maybe just have the 2020 estimates. So just different ways of kind of displaying the data. We know it's important to have all of those tables, especially because of all the different geographies and how far it drills down, but just different ways of showing the data, especially if people just want to look at their city or just a county or a different area. So one thing we're looking for. When you want to go back, one thing that's important is just to go ahead and you can click on the logo and go back. So the next thing, I'm going to go back to this, is the next thing we were going to talk about was comparing over time. So give you an example, and this isn't working as nicely as I thought, but here we go. Oh, wait, it's not there. Here it is. Okay. So comparing over time is kind of search by table ID, customizing the views, saving the results. An example was kind of looking at maybe like median rent, income, rent as percentage of household income over time, and then using some other comparison tables for King County, Washington. So trying to show it in a little bit of a different idea if people have something about comparing over time and what we can do. So from here, so definitely can go into a search by table ID is important to know. So if you're looking at comparing over time, it's always nice to look at ACS, the comparison profiles, especially since not everything's available in Data.Census.Gov. The program area is starting at 2010 and going forward with data that's available in Data.Census.Gov based on the resources to review and that type of thing. So CP, we wanted to look at housing. It's CP04. You don't have to know that, but if you do, we definitely have lots of people that do know it, and those people, it's a good way of doing. So just showing you some different ways of being able to kind of navigate the site. So here's our comparison profile. It's available for 2019, 1 year. You can also change it to different years. And this is important to note, especially with ACS data that has a threshold. So sometimes if you can't find something, it might be because you're on a 1 year and you really need to be on a 5 year. So just some things to keep in mind. So from here, I'm going to customize the table because it gives you all these different options. The first thing is that I didn't even select a geography. So I'm going to go in and select a geography. I'm going to do county, and then I'm going to go to Washington, and then I'm going to go over to King County. You can see that it populates with this chip. I'm going to show you something with the chips in a minute, too. So go ahead and close it. It's a little counterintuitive. It actually does apply it when you close it, but just to be aware. So from here, we have the table with the geography. And then you can go in, and if we decided we wanted to customize it a little bit, if you just want to look at maybe 2015 and 2019 and then the statistical significance between the two, you can do some of the customization, like doing a hide, and you can pull out some of the other data points that are there and pull those out so that you just have the 2015, the 2019, and the statistical significance between the two. So from here, you're able to kind of easily look and see what the data from one to the next. We talked about doing, a median rent. If you go down, you can find those examples, mortgage status and value, and I might have missed it. Let me see. Hold on. And then, oops, I have to cleanse that out. That's gross rent. Some of those estimates you can look for. This is the larger comparison profile table and what's available. Some of those things, now if you wanted to go in and export it and put it in Excel, you just go in and you right-click it. Something that we're hoping that we don't, that we can have either messaging or something that's available that people would just end up going to a download. That's a little different, so I wanted to show you this. So if you go in and right-click, go to Export Table to Excel, it'll pull up the table in Excel that looks more like the table that you may be used to. So our download feature is more of that flat file, the CSV, which is great if you need something that's machine readable. But if you're trying to look at it in kind of a table format, this is a great way to go, is to do this Excel. All right, so let me do that. And then another thing that you can do is that you can go to Print, only available for the first page, and then you can go to some print options, see what's available, and then go in, and we're still trying to figure out the best way to do print because our tables are just so big as far as the columns, trying to figure out the best way to kind of show that. But you could go in and play around with this a little bit, not the paper size, but like the scale and the margins per page. If you want to do a landscape, probably be a little bit better to see the data available. And then just giving you an option for some things that you want to do. I go in and I mess with the margins some, do a custom margins, and then make those a lot smaller, and then to fit on the table, depending on what I have to do. If I have to have something that needs to be a little bit more professional and I don't have that, those are some things that we do. So just giving you some options. The Control P is not 100% finished. You're still working on it, but just giving you, again, some options on where to go. All right. So the other thing I wanted to show you is if you click on the advanced search, the single search bar at the top, it's where we typed in, or where it came in from CP04. You can go in, and we talked about wanting to do income. We can type in CP03 and press enter. And what this does is that it changes the table, but it keeps your geography. Now, this is a big one because this was something that we used to have to go into advanced search and make sure that we just cleared out this table and searched from there. The search functionality is not 100% there. We're still working to integrate the single search with the advanced search, but this is a great first step to make sure that you're not losing those geographies while you go in. So it is nice to be able to see what you've put in for those chips as you add things and take them away. So I wanted to be able to show you that, and the same thing's true as far as customization and that type of thing. All right. So another thing I wanted to show you, let me go back to my slide deck, is the comparing over time. I'll just show you this one thing. The comparing across geographies. So searching by topic, but then also mapping and then downloading. And we have this example of the population 60 to 64 years for all census tracts in King County, Washington. So looking across, okay, it's a great idea to go to advanced search. And then we talked about the topic. Wanted to choose a topic. Might be a little bit different with than we normally do, like an older population. So go ahead and X that little feedback. As much as I like people sending feedback, I know that little pop-up is annoying, and we're trying to figure out what to do, but please know that I get it. It was my original idea, so please send all of your hate mail to me about that, and I'll deal with it. I accept that. We'll just go ahead and exit out. All right, so we have older population. It was filtered down here. It was added. We go to the geography. We wanted tracts, so we can go to tracts, and from here, go down to Washington, and we chose King County, and then all census tracts within King County. We see that it's been populated, and then we go ahead and do a search, and then from here it goes to age and sex. The tables, if you noticed, we no longer have a preview box here. It shows the table. We're giving you more table options. You can still pull up more from here. And then it goes into the maps, and then it goes into the other pages. And you can always flip from here too. So I'm going to choose the SO101, going to that site. For the older population, it might be better suited to have something like I think it's SO3, SO103 and SO104. I think those are the tables that are 60 and over and 65 and over, but those aren't available for 5-year because they do have a threshold, a population threshold put within them. So some of those things, at least it limits what we can look for, but that's kind of the use of the ACS data with so many different options, but going down so low to geographies, there's certain things you have to be aware of missing data. So we're looking for like 60 to 64 is what we're saying. Looked perfect. It's the right table. Got lots of estimates, but I like to map it. So what I'm going to do is I've seen it in the table, but I'm going to go to Maps. I'm going to click on the map. And let it load. All right. So from here, it shows us kind of a reference map. So we can drill down and move it around. But if I choose a table, it allows to be a thematic map, which is exactly what I want. So a few things I want to check. So it's defaulted to the 5-year. If there's all of this missing data and you'd chosen, a bunch of different geographies and it's hidden, you can't find it, make sure you check this product right here where it says the 2018 ACS 5-year. It could have come to a 1-year for a myriad of reasons, either from us or from you. And so go ahead and check because a lot of these things need to be 5-year based on the population. So go ahead and do that. Checking track, that's what we wanted. So it's all there. It's exactly what we wanted, but it defaults to the first variable. So you saw it was a really long table, and you're going to see the same thing here. So just letting you know kind of how to navigate it, what we've done is we've gone through all of the first column. So it was the total column for all of those estimates going all the way down. And then if you keep going, it then turns into percent. So we're looking for like 60 to 64 population and percent. Perfect. Select that, and then it then populates again in your table. So quick way to look, a really nice way to go in and see what's this, what's that, what's is there, where are the big kind of outliers or the issues that if you wanted to see what has the highest population, it's the darkest shade, and then you can hover over and see what things were selected from there. Also wanted to go in to customize the map. And then what you can do from here is that you can see as a view table. So all of those tracks of the estimate for the variable you've chosen are now in a table view that you can go in and see. Now, just mind you, it doesn't have the margins of error attached to it, something we definitely need to add. But with that, people do want to do some work where you do ascending and descending. So if we do something from the highest estimate, highest area of that track with the population of 60 to 64, and look from there. Just again, know that it's not, your precision's not there, your uncertainty hasn't been added, but at least you can have a general view, an idea that it's not showing. But if you go over here, there's a little hamburger, there's 3-line hamburgers. If you click there, you can click down, click and do something like greater than or equals to, and then I just put in 10, and then apply filter, and then that filter's been added. You can also go back to the full table. Or move this around, and there you go. So it's back to the full table, takes you out of the map, and then some other things with the full customization table. You get the data notes, some other things if you wanted to transpose the table. Definitely doesn't look amazing, but you might like that, so you could do that. And then if you wanted to take the margins of error out, you could. From here, also important, I'm going to actually restore the layout because it bothers me so much to see it like that. I'm going to go ahead and download the data and show you that look from there. So we click on the download. I'm just going to show you. You can choose different year. It's all census tracts, so that's 5-year. You can choose a couple of years or whatever you wanted to do. And this PDF option is not available. I've asked them to take it out, but we're not there yet. But for CSV, and then you can go ahead and download, and it's preparing your file. Give it 1 second. I just want to make sure that you see what you're going to end up getting when you download, and that's kind of downloading from the site. The other things are kind of manipulation using kind of the browser and then the software functionality. And so give it a minute. Oops. I guess it was just stuck there. Oops. I guess let me try it one more time. There we go. I'm just impatient. Okay. So from here, you'll see that this is something that is machine readable. Every geography is on one line with the estimates, with the indication of not just the API call, but the fully qualified variable and the estimate. we're right at half and half. Some people love this, and some people do not like this, and it's all depending on what you're using the data for. So just making sure you know the distinctions of when to use when and where. All right. So let me get out of that. I could get out of that one too. Yes, let's cancel that download. Okay. All right. Clear the table and go back here. And I think the last one example was a business example. Yep, for business data. So I wanted to show you just some things of searching by industry. With the econ census out, definitely an interest for people. Just looking at something like sales and employees, number of establishments for accommodation in Seattle Metro. Lots of different ones that we can do. One of the things, if you go down here, it's always best to go directly to an advanced search. I'm going to go down to codes. And then I'm going to look for traveler accommodation. So if you go to the industry codes or the NAICS, and you scroll down to 72, which is accommodations and food services. And then I wanted to do a precision of looking for 7211. So if you go to accommodations, and then there's specifically traveler accommodations, and then finally click this box. Shows you that there's nothing underneath it anymore. And then from here, I can then go and do a geography. And then I'm going to show you one last thing, is that right now we've been going through without the toggle on. And what this is just a basic look of some of our basic summary levels we have. Lots of the things that we've calculated and created from our geography area are these summary levels that not everybody is super understanding of. They don't really know when to use them and when not to. Something like metro area, which is available, that's not, it's assuming you don't know our summary levels enough to choose which one you want. So we could choose that, or we could take out our summary level toggle, and it's only going to show you those things that are available for the 7211 traveler accommodation. So if you scroll down, there's the different metropolitan areas, 110, 310, 314. I'm going to choose 310, and then here's a list of all of the metropolitan areas. Seattle's way down there, so I'm just going to type in Seattle and get the Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue metro area. It's been populated down here. My little feedback button popped up again just to spite me and show me how wrong I was, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a search right there. First result is going to be the county business patterns, because that's a yearly estimate that comes out. And then you've got non-employer. You've got lots of different things. Under here is Econ Basic, which is the 2017 Econ estimate. So I wanted to show you how to find those. So there's lots of different things that you could choose just looking at one NAICS code. We haven't really specified what survey you wanted to. You could always go in and do that. Go in from here, go to the advanced search, and then go to a survey and actually specifically go through and decide which one you wanted, if you wanted non-employers, or even if you wanted just the economic econ basic estimates, and then search from there, and then that would come up first. So just some different options of what's available to show you how to kind of navigate as you've gone through. And I think the last one is kind of a more information one. So our resource page, really wanted to show you that really quickly. For extra questions, we know we're still building. We know that it's very different than something that you've used from other data tools at Census.Gov, and then also from American Fact Finder. So if you go to our landing page, there's a button that says Help. That Help takes you directly to what we call our resource page. And this is what's where we put all of our information to try to help people for different reasons. So some of the things that we have is just news and updates, letting you know what's available. So some of the things are just the recent updates that come out. You know, the March supplement came out, or when we had the 2019 1 year available. But then other things are like the migration that's become available. And as they go through and become available, wanting you to be able to go in and find what's been there. So it kind of goes along with some of these guidance for data users. We have something that's transitioned from AFF. And it shows you not just the table, the data availability table that we have that kind of check marks and tells you everything that's available that you can go in and view, but it also tells you where we are with things that have not been moved over, so that you're not going crazy wondering where those things are and how they're available. We also have the same thing for Data Ferret. We talked a little bit about that being microdata access, same thing, where those things are while you're waiting. But some of the materials, too, wanting to make sure that people are aware there's lots of how-tos, lots of ways of going about finding things. The address search, how you can find the address search with what we have as a geocoder in since we don't have something integrated within Data.Census.Gov yet, so here's some workarounds. And then things like, just even with the Census API, some things that we've put together on how to pull estimates. So if you don't have, if we don't have some of those collections, how to go do a workaround with that. So something like the ZICDAs, how to pull all the ZICDAs, and then for either an estimate or even a table through the United States, and then be able to kind of slice them yourself. Obviously, this isn't the final place we want you to be at. We don't want you to have to do all of these workarounds, but until we have it built, we want you to be able to get the data that you need. And if you can't do it or still have problems, just let us know, and we can send it packaged to you if necessary. We know that people are relying on this for work, for school, for all different types of things, and we don't want you to be kind of, sitting there wondering how to do something. So please just reach out and let us know. There's also these tools, video tutorials and webinars. And then the last thing I wanted to show you really, really quickly, that was under guidance for data users. If you go back to the main site, under guidance, well, it still is under guidance, release notes. This is where we put all of the latest code updates that we've had. For our trainers that train throughout the data dissemination specialists, we ask them to go in and check the site every Tuesday and Thursday. That's when we have data or code releases, so they just know and have an awareness of when those things are available. But it's a great way to go in and check and see what we have improved and what we have done, and then known limitations and defects, things that aren't available, and then just the features, what we can expect, all the way down to how to print, what's the best option, those profiles, what's available, and we do the same thing for microdata access. And then there's a list of these frequently asked questions, which is always a good place to land if you're looking for just in general questions that you might come about. But please, please, please let us know if you have any questions. And then right here, actually at the top is a link to our survey if you'd like to take that as well. All right, so let me go back to my, I'll go to the last here. Okay, and then from here, just encouraging you to send us any of your feedback. And then this is a little bit about your survey that we have, kind of a secondary way of providing feedback to us. If you have questions or anything like that, great to send the email, and definitely throw in your 2 cents about things. And then the survey is also a great way too. We definitely are pulling that information and looking at it to kind of give us some guidance on our next development and build. And from there, I'm assuming we might have a few questions, but wanted to at least land on this last page about how to get in contact with me if you have any questions. always welcome to send anything directly to the website feedback for any direct questions, or you can contact me personally. All right, from there, do we have any other questions? I think, Heidi, you were manning the chat, and Barb, correct?
Yeah, so KaNin, yes, we did get a few things in, and I took a crack at trying to answer a couple of them. So you can either add to my response or correct me if you have some updated information. But one of the questions that we got was, is it possible to connect to the live data on the site, like through Tableau, rather than download / export the data? So I let the user know that, and, KaNin, you can chime in, that, actually some of our tools that we actually have on our website do pull directly from the API, like Census Business Builder and My Congressional District and My Tribal Area, so that it is possible to create your own interface, but that if you are planning to do a lot of calls, then you'll want to get, ask for one of those keys.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. Yeah. With Tableau, we don't have the functionality, or it doesn't have the functionality to pull our API data.
Okay.
Last I understood, they were working on it, but it was a security issue because of I don't know how it's being built or not. I can try to get some more information about that, but in order to use Tableau with our data, you have to download the data first and then pull in through Tableau. But you're right. Other tools we have pull directly from the API.
Yeah, right. So some people do create their own interfaces on their websites and
right.
Yeah, pull from our API. But thank you for Tableau. I wasn't sure about.
Mute off.
Right.
Okay. And
no, that's great.
And then also, so just a nice positive comment that when you were doing some demoing, it said this is what our users will want to export to Excel. So thanks for demoing.
Okay.
And then another question that we got, KaNin, that I also took a kind of offer my 2 cents, and that I said you would chime in as well. So it's to the extent data is provided only via the API, that can limit some access for organizations that don't have the resources to develop apps and interfaces for the API. They sent us feedback urging us to consider using the API only on a limited circumstance when necessary, and is it something the census would consider? So, my feedback for that was that I know, and I'm sure you have, KaNin, because you do a lot more of these than I do, that we have heard from customers about the API. I did mention that, for the migration from AFS to Data.Census.Gov, that some of our subject matter areas chose not to migrate all the data from AFF to Data.Census.Gov. So the API might be one of the only sources to get that data. And what else can you add?
Right. Well, I think part of it is the first part is that the data may be in the API, but it doesn't mean you have to necessarily pull it from the API. Again, if it's the only source, that's one thing. But that's the reason for Data.Census.Gov, is it so that you don't have to, and so that it's being pulled and available there. Things that are only available in the API and not in Data.Census.Gov, I think that's great feedback to hear. I know with ACS, the people that there's been a huge letter writing campaign or emailing campaign about the data that are prior to 2010, that people want to have it in Data.Census.Gov for exactly that reason. I don't know how to program. I don't have I don't have the ability. I don't have the software. I don't want to do it, is basically from people. And could you make it available on Data.Census.Gov? And we've sent that and let the American Community Survey office know. They're well aware, and they're actually trying to see what resources they do have to do that kind of review with their data, with their subject matter. And I think that's kind of what you're hitting at, the people that just don't have anything else, right? And we are aware of that. And honestly, if you do have some issues with that and you need something and you can't pull from the API, please just reach out to us. It might be something that we could show you some easy ways of pulling this that you don't have to have any real other than manipulating the URL, and it'll go and be exported into an Excel sheet. And then if those things just still don't work, just let us know, and we can see if we can send you something.
Okay, and yes, we got a yes that the data prior to 2010 is crucial, especially for our.
Yes, I agree, and I think ACSO agrees with that too. Nobody wants to not do it. It's more of just trying to put up against resource limitations, and that was kind of the decision going forward. But we've definitely let people know that the data users are really asked for it just being available on the site back to 2005, and so something we're working on. And I don't have an update from them now. 2020 is such a hard year to try to get people to give a little extra effort and find some extra resources at the Census Bureau. So we hope to have something soon, and as soon as we do have, that's definitely something that will be sent to the SDCs so that Erica can share that with y'all.
Okay, and then we've got one. So this is a new one that came on KaNin while we were going over these first few questions that had come in. So it says, regarding data downloads, whenever I try to download the data, I get CSV files that are just data downloads, and I don't understand how to see the actual data. So they end up doing a copy-paste to access the data.
Okay, so when you do a download of the data, so just remember the download itself is going to be, it may not be what you're looking for, because the download, you just go to poverty, and then you download the data is another place that you can download it, and choose that, select the download, and then download. It depends on what browser you're using on where it will show up, but you can do a download now, and you can pull it up. I'm not sure if this is what you were talking about, but then you have to go in and then choose it and open it from there. And it'll give you the data and the information. It just won't necessarily give it to you in a way, in a tiny little, in a way that maybe you were hoping to get. I'm not sure if that's hitting.
Yeah, actually, I didn't because I was scrolled up on their question, and then it ended up right before, as I was reading it, they had chimed in, and that I guess that your tip that you provided during your demo kind of helped them.
Oh, okay, good, sure.
They were getting that.
But I always get messed up too. I'll use a different data provider, and then I'm like, where did my Excel go? I can't find it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Heidi.
And then I think we can maybe, because I know, Erica, I think we were going to maybe try and break around 10, so maybe we can just squeak in this last one real quick. KaNin, do you know off the top of your head, because I know I used to know some, but I don't remember as well, in terms of some of the subject matter areas at Census that chose not to put their data on Data.Census.Gov, or chose to, or maybe they migrated some and didn't do, aren't doing their earlier vintages and just going to use the API.
Oh, which ones those are?
Yeah, do you know off the top of your head any of them?
Yeah, nobody's chosen not to. It was more of with the population estimate. So when you're going from ACS, probably why they don't want to do the 5 through 9, I'm sure, is because they migrated the data. They do not have the resources or the storage capabilities to go back and take all those tabulations and redeliver it directly to our site, which is much, much cleaner than taking what AFF did and then migrating it over, because you're taking a static table and then almost exploding it into individual cells and putting it into the API. and it doesn't come out cleanly. And that was why population estimates was like, let me just learn how and deliver it directly so we don't have to go all the way back. Since ACS couldn't do that, they didn't do they had to do migration this older way, the same way that Decennial had to. Econ has gone back in and redelivered, but they also do a lot of time series, so they kind of do that every time. But that's kind of the reason why this migration from one system and software to another is just it's just very clunky. It's not ideal. The better way is for them to just redeliver. But, ACS and all that ton of data, they just can't, they absolutely don't have that kind of manpower to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we pretty much got through everything, and I can, go back and double check to see if there's something I missed. So, Erica, do you want to chime in? I'm trying to recall how long people got for a break before we start.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions that they feel are unanswered, you can send them to me, and I can follow up with both Heidi and KaNin to get you answers. And I think it does make sense for us to take a break here, stretch or whatever, and we'll meet back, let's say, at 10. It's about almost 5 after now, so we'll meet back at 10:10 or 10:15, sorry, and go on to the MDAT presentation. So we'll reconvene in 10 minutes.
All right, sounds good.